Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another goodereader.com video review. My name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Today we have the Sony PRS-T3S, and as a point of reference, we also have the Sony PRS-T3. As you can see, they're fairly similar, if not exactly the same. The only big difference is with the T3S, it actually ships with the standard integrated back cover that most other e-readers have. Although you can remove it, and by removing it, this is where you put the SD card. And both of these, the rear panel and the case on the T3 are actually interchangeable. So if you're into an e-reader with the standard back case, you want to get the T3S. Although if you want an integrated cover that actually helps protect the unit, you can just get the standard T3. Alright, so now that we've proven everything's interchangeable, let's take a look at the T3S side by side. As you can see that they're mirrored exactly the same. You have the physical page turn buttons, home button, back, settings menu, full touch screen. And give you a sense of specs, it's 6 inches, 1024 by 768 is the resolution. It has a 1 gigahertz internal processor, 512 MB of RAM, and 2 gigs of memory. Although, like I said, you can expand that via the SD card if you want.
Right.
Sony has, in the past, included a stylus with their e-reader. With the Sony PRS-T1, it came with a stylus and a slot in the e-reader that you could actually house it. The T2 came with a stylus, but there was actually no slot to house it. The T3 came out, it came with no stylus at all. So we actually have one of the older Sony styluses here, and one of the great things about the T3 is that it's one of the best e-readers in terms of being able to take notes. And you can take notes in the drawing app, and you could also do so in PDFs, as we'll show you in a bit. You can save the notes, and they'll actually save as image files on your e-reader, so you can export them or use them as your screensaver if you wanted to. This is the main home screen. As you can see, that this is stock, and we've added a few PDF files, and there's a few excerpts here that actually came with the unit. Just quickly look at the applications. You see a public library app here. This is courtesy of Overdrive. So Sony and Overdrive have made a UI system that makes it easy to both borrow and read books directly from the library. Has an integrated web browser, not too many features. It does have a lot of dictionary support. And you could download different dictionaries from Sony. We have the stock one here. Okay, just rounding off it here, you can take text memos, pictures, you have settings, and then Facebook and Evernote set up, so you could send passages of books, highlights, and things like that to your friends on Facebook, and you could also do the same with Evernote. Let's take a look at the overall reading experience.
We're going to open up a preloaded book that came with this review model. So you can see the contrast is very nice on this device. In terms of the reading experience, it's very good. You have both swiping capabilities, you have page turn with physical buttons. You actually have the ability to pinch and zoom on an ebook.
I really like this because most other e-readers, if you want to increase like the size of the text, you have to do so with the settings menu. But this is a cool, intuitive way that if you have a smartphone or a tablet and you're just used to pinching and zooming, you can do it like this. Although I probably recommend for a more uniformed experience to actually change the size of the fonts.
You do still have all this font options. So you have different font styles as well. A lot of them aren't conventional names. We also have handwriting, and this is handwriting on an ebook.
So this is a standard EPUB book.
So you can kind of do whatever you want, and then you can actually, that's kind of saves. You can't export it like you can on, say, like an Icarus Excel, but it will stay there within that
Yeah, it doesn't create like a mere duplicate of the book with your notes in one copy and the virgin book in another. It's sort of, this is only inside of the e-reader itself.
Right.
There are more numerous options here, but you're only really going to use the fonts and the handwriting like in a day-to-day. If you click more You can switch the orientation from portrait to landscape. This is determinate on if you're reading graphic novels, manga, things like that. You can search for particular phrases and keywords and things like that. I really like the way that they do the page numbers. A lot of other e-readers may have like percentage of the book read and all this superfluous data. Sony just keeps it really simple.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think Sony's always been good with their reading experience. I think the only thing I would change about this is put a glow light. I mean, that's other than that, I have no complaints.
Well, they do sell a case with a glow light, but it's I think $60.
It's about $60 depending on what region you're in, correct?
Okay, so you can take highlights, you can make notes, you can do it with the built-in keyboard or via drawing with the app. So this is kind of cool because most e-readers you can only take notes by typing on the virtual keyboard, but you can also take notes with handwriting them. Okay, so this is the standard ebook experience. Let's take a look at what we can do with PDFs.
Because they really let you do anything on pretty much ebooks, PDFs, pictures, memos, whatever, the experience is very similar. You do have the ability to pinch and zoom. And this is a small thing, and I mention it every time, but you can actually pinch and zoom, let go of your finger, and then jump to another part of the page and still continue zooming. You can't do this on even the most recent e-readers like the Paperwhite 2 won't let you do this.
Now, will this allow you to double tap to isolate a specific region?
We're going to double tap. And that doesn't do anything, so what we have to do is go to fonts, and if you upgrade the font on a PDF, it actually reflows for you.
Okay.
So you can see
one of the cool things about the Sony as well is it does have like cropping options, right? And in the past we thought, what good is cropping options really? But sometimes PDFs are formatted not correctly. So say like there's a huge margin here, you can actually crop the margins out. So every time you turn a page, you can make sure that you have just the region of text that you want. So let's just try it out here.
Obviously, I'm cutting things off, but this is just an example.
Yeah.
So now every page will be exactly within those boundaries. No matter how you turn the page, you'll always get that.
And this is super useful because a lot of PDFs are maybe optimized for computer screens with a lot more screen real estate. So this is a kind of a cool way that you could sort of have a little bit more flexibility over your PDF experience. And it's really only indicative to Sony that they've done this. So a lot of PDF options, and you can take notes on PDFs as well. So if you're looking for a 6-inch reader that has deadly PDF support, take a look at this one. So in the end, we have bookshelves, which is where you house like all of your content, and you have like a few options here to sort. You can change things from cover art to just a text. Doesn't really have like a lot of crazy management or anything like that, but if you click on a book, you can delete it right off the device, post it to Facebook, or check out the info. If it has metadata, it'll tell you the publisher and everything like that. So here is where you could choose bookshelves.
That was a very small arrow Mike was trying to touch right there.
Not the easiest to gesture with. Sony, lastly, has really developed their bookstore, I think, over about the last 6 to 8 months. They've pretty well revised it in terms of the overall looks and aesthetics.
So what we're going to do is sign in, and we'll give you guys the grand tour.
Overall, the store is very intuitively laid out. It has a carousel that you can check out whatever title that they're emphasizing at the time. You can sort of look for new arrivals. You can browse various genres. I like the tab structure. I like the, sort of the gradients that they're using and everything like that. There isn't a lot of images, so everything tends to load really quickly. Show details about the book.
So there's little tabs here. Overview, author, additional info.
Sony used to fetch all of their user reviews and ratings from Goodreads, and then once Goodreads was acquired by Amazon, Sony established a relationship with iDreamBooks, which is basically a Rotten Tomatoes type of scheme for ebooks, ratings, and reviews. So it may not have super current data with like books that just came out, but a lot of the books that have been out maybe for a few months or a year or even about 2 to 3 weeks, they'll have a lot of data for it. I like the store. I think it's really designed well. In the end, I'm a huge fan of the Sony PRS-T3S. I think that having the back panel that is very much akin to almost all other e-readers makes it very compelling. I did not like to rely on the case that came with the original T3, and I do think that if you're looking for a reader with phenomenal PDF support and that's designed to work as easily with a stylus as it is to just interact with these menu keys here, take a look at it. It's priced right. It's about $130 or so, and it has a wider availability because it's Sony and they have a large international footprint.
Now, the one thing that really bothered me was that they could have just released the backing, because the only thing that stood in your way from the T3 was that the back was connected to the case, like so. So instead of launching a whole new model, they could have released just the backing. But needless to say, the backs, the cases, whatever, they're all interchangeable between the T3S and the T3, so if you want the lighted case, you can snap that right onto this guy and get a whole new experience.
Okay, so you've heard our thoughts. Let's hear yours. You can drop a comment on this video. If you're watching this video on another website, our channel name is youtube.com/goodyreader, and for all the latest news, previews, interviews, and industry-wide coverage, you can check out our main website at goodyreader.com, and for a review of the new Sony PRS-T3S, my name's Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.